Hey guys, Shalana here. Welcome to the Binge Zone. On today's video, we're taking a journey into the world of Thra to explore the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance Season 1 to find out more about the characters, the plot, the mythology, and the ending, and what happened to not only Best Girl Deet, but where does Season 2 go from here. Now, for us to get a better understanding of the overarching plot of the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance, we have to go back to a time even before the series to get a better understanding of the world of Thra and just how it came to be. And for us to find that out, we have to look at the very beginning of Thra. And the one thing that is at the very beginning of the history of Thra is the Crystal of Truth, aka the Dark Crystal, which is the source of all life energies on the planet of Thra and the major proponent and plot point of this season. And the Dark Crystal, or the Crystal of Truth as they call it, is in a symbiotic relationship with the planet of Thra. What that means is the energies and the life forces of all creatures on Thra, they come from the Crystal of Truth, and the manifestation of the spirit of Thra is in the form of Mother Aughra. And Mother Aughra is sort of like the mother of all life on Thra because she is the crystal, and the crystal is her essence and the very nature of the planet. And Mother Aughra are one and the same, which permeates from Mother Aughra right down to the Gefling, who also live in a matriarchal society. That's why all 7 clans of the Gefling have a Madra, aka Mother, and all 7 clans are ruled by the All Madra, aka the All Mother. Now, for thousands of years, these Geflings as well as Aughra lived in harmony until an alien race came onto the planet of Thra, and this race was called the Urskeks. Now, the Urskeks are the combined form of the Mystics as well as the Skeksis. They came from another world, and upon coming onto this world, they found out about the crystal and the awesome power that the crystal holds. Because the crystal is intrinsically tied to the planet of Thra, the crystal itself is a source of immeasurable power as well as immortality. So the Urskeks end up doing a few experiments on the crystal, and that separates them into the 2 different species we know as the Mystics and the Skeksis. Now, the Mystics themselves are more kind-hearted in nature and slower, and therefore are not into conflict, while the Skeksis are vile, greedy creatures as we saw throughout the first season, and they were able to finesse Mother Aughra and tell her stories of the universe and get her to abandon her post as protector of the crystal. So Mother Aughra ends up astral projecting her mind throughout the universe, and with the spirit of Thra, aka Mother Aughra, out of their way, the Skeksis end up corrupting the Crystal of Truth, turning it into the Dark Crystal. They begin feeding from the crystal to maintain their life force, and therefore starts creating the darkening, which is a major plot point throughout the story. And they start darkening the Crystal of Truth itself to the point where they break off a small piece of the crystal, which allows for their impurities to manifest within the crystal and taint it even more. Also, with Mother Aughra out of the way, the Skeksis were able to solidify themselves as the lords of the crystal, protectors of the crystal, as well as the highest race of being on Thra, therefore pretty much putting everyone under their thumb, especially the Gefling. And with the Skeksis being that high on the totem pole, they end up finessing the Gefling and having the Gefling pay tithes, as well as subjugate the Gefling to the Skeksis' rule. And that goes unchallenged.
Your tithe is wanting.
Yes, Your Grace. We beg the Lord's forgiveness. Our land has suffered a strange blight. Nothing grows.
And all 7 clans of the Gefling pay fealty and homage to the Skeksis. And it isn't until our 3 main characters, Rian from the Stone and Wood clan, Deet from the Gotten clan, as well as Breya from the Vapan, these 3 characters, once they find out the truth, it's up to them to convince the world that the Skeksis are evil. But the Skeksis rule, and the way that they manipulate the system, and the way that they are intrinsically linked into society of Thra, no one believes our main characters, and they're even able to taint the very notion of the dream fast. Now, in this world of Thra, there's a very mystical force, an extra dimensional force called the dream space. And within that dream space, because the Gefling are a part of Thra, they're the most connected to the Crystal of Truth as well as the spirit of Thra, they're able to access this dream space and share memories with one another at the touch of a hand, able to share their experiences, their pain, their love, their feelings with one another. And the Skeksis know this, and they know that Rian saw what they did. So in order for them to make sure that no one believes Rian, they start this rumor that his mind is tainted and he has tainted the dream space in a sense that kind of wards people from dream fasting with him, and that way they won't see the Skeksis for the vile creatures that they are. Even though later on people do see this, the very notion, the very control that the Skeksis have on the creatures of Thra, no one seems to believe the few Gelfling who stand against the Skeksis, and that goes into a sort of control, a sort of manipulation that the Skeksis have, which in itself is a topic for another video, because that falls in line with the philosophy of Descartes, and that in itself, like I said, will take an entire other video. So if you guys want to see that video, let me know in the comment section below, as I could also break down the very notion of Descartian philosophy and how that affects the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance. Now, with our main characters on this journey, and we see that each character has a part to play in the Song of Thra, and Rian is the warrior, Deet is the spirit, and the mind of Thra comes in the form of Breya, and those three must combine their forces and efforts in order to stop the Skeksis. This show and this season does a lot to expand on the mythology of the Dark Crystal, because if you guys have seen the original 1982 movie, you guys know there's a lot of questions left unanswered in that movie. We're kind of just thrusted into that world and we're expected to know things. However, this season expands more upon the mythology as well as the characters, like the 18 Earth-Skeks who come to this planet and separate, leaving us with various different mystics and Skeksis, how their numbers came to dwindle, what happened to the Emperor at the end, and how the darkening is corrupting him, and he was the first Skeksis to actually we see die on camera in the 1982 movie, as well as the prophecy, the dual glaive, and where the shard from the crystal came from, because we never knew what happened to that shard and how did Agra get her hands on it in the 1982 movie. And it isn't until this season we see that the shard was part of the dual glaive, the legendary weapon that can stop a Skeksis in its track and actually hurt them. And then we learn more about the different species of this planet, such as the Aratham, who are part of the Ascendancy, a hive mind, and they're able to control other people and put them into the hive mind that expands deeper into the very notion of the dream space, because everything in Thra is connected. Therefore, even the hive mind of the Aratham is a part of the dream space. And then we have the creation of the Gartham, which is a fusion of a Aratham corpse as well as a Grunak corpse. And that's how the Skeksis are able to create their fighting force that helps them track down and destroy the Gelflings later on in the 1982 movie. So all of these different motions and all of these different things are in place. And then we have the very ending. What happens to Deet? Deet is by far my favorite character, and we have to get into what happened to her at the end. And at the end, we see that Deet absorbs the darkening within herself, and she goes away and puts herself away from everybody else, because the darkening itself is energy. It can't be destroyed. It can only be transferred from one source to another. So Deet was able to take the darkening from the Skeksis, and instead of spreading it throughout Thra, she internalized it and then she went away. One thing is for certain, the darkening did not kill her. So Deet is alive and well, and she may be making an appearance in the second season. But I'm curious to see what happens to her, because she is now essentially walking dark energy, and how will that have an effect on her and her relationship with Rian, as well as her and her relationship with the other Gelfling. Another thing that's very important to note at the end of this season is the fact that the Gelfling united, and together they were able to defeat the Skeksis. But how long will that last? How long will that union last? Because this first season makes it a point to differentiate the Gelfling from different tribes and how they treat each other. We see that unity is what causes them to defeat the Skeksis. However, with the formation of the Gartham and the creation of the Gartham, as well as the Emperor diving deeper into the powers of the darkening, is that unity going to last? Are they all going to follow the new Armadra? Because she was in fact in line with the Skeksis even after she found out what they did. And how would that affect them all? Because right now they're under Mother Agra, but we see that the Skeksis have not given up. And we know this is a prequel, and at the end of all of this, in the 1982 movie, we see that the Skeksis are in charge and the Gelfling have been pretty much wiped out. So I wonder if that unity will last, or will it separate and these seven clans will be defeated. How they go from 7 clans of thousands, if not millions of Gelfling, into 2 separate Gelfling people left alone throughout this entirety? I'd love to find that out. And I like the fact that they give a few nods to the 1982 movie, and I can see that Jen is a part of the Stone in the Wood clan just based on his features. Anyway guys, that's it for this video. That's the ending explained and the entire season actually explained of the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance. If you liked the video, definitely give it a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button if you guys have not already. And until next time, binge on.